I'm Jody.
And I'm Beth.
And you're listening to the Blume Saloon.
Judy Blume Book Club.
You did it so good. We had to practice a little bit because this is Beth's first time here in the Blume Cocoon. How does it
feel? Cozy?
Yeah. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Beth brought over something very special.
I brought over some Smirnoff Ice.
Yes. If you're wondering why she brought over Smirnoff Ice, you'll find out because something crazy happens in this chapter we're about to read. By the way, we are reading Then Again, Maybe I Won't by Judy Blume. We took a little bit of a break last week because Alison's out on maternity leave. We're back with, what are we back with?
We're back with some,
I don't know.
I was going to say something gross about hot boy action, but that doesn't sound good.
Dude, I mean, the things we've said on this podcast, that is the least. We're back with some hot boy action. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to quickly go over some odds and ends. I have to tell you, Bloom heads, that there is a Parrot Head documentary out on Netflix. I have not seen it yet, but if you've listened to our other episodes, you know that we first started out very skeptical towards the parrot head movement, but we've slowly come around and now we're kind of big parrot heads. So I think we should all watch this documentary, learn a little bit more about the world of parrot heads, the fins up whole thing. Fins up, that's what they say, right? Yeah. Do you know anything about parrot heads?
I don't. I'm going to watch this documentary, though. Only what you guys have talked about.
And we've made a lot of mentions of Big Legs Angie in this book. And I just want to make sure that everyone knows I am not poking fun at Big Legs Angie. We're not poking fun at people with big butts. As a lifelong member of the Big Butt Club.
She has an awesome ass.
Thanks. I am so happy that big butts and big thighs are we're putting them on a pedestal. And that is great with me.
And I wanted to tell Alison that when I was pregnant, I was a little sad because I did not get a fat ass or fat thighs. Apparently, those fat cells have the good fatty acids that make up a brain.
Wow.
And when you're making the baby inside you, better fatty acids, better baby brain.
Better fatty acids, better baby brain.
Yeah. So her
better
baby.
Better fatty acids, better baby brain. That's the new summer jam.
Yeah, that is totally going to be a hit. NPR.
So when you were telling me this before we started recording, I thought it was one of those old wives' tales. Like, if you're carrying the baby high, it's a girl or blah, blah, blah.
No, it's recent research has found that.
Science. Phone phreaking. So in our last mini episode, we did a little bit about 1971 slang, all the words that were coming out that year, and phreaking with a PH was one of them. And a lot of people asked, what's phone phreaking? So Beth.
Yes, Jody? I was going to call you Julie for a second.
Oh.
I don't know. I think it was Julie meets Jody. Judy meets Jody.
Is that a movie?
No,
a book?
No.
What is that?
Judy Blume meets Jody. Came out Julie.
Oh, Julie Blume. We're reading Then Again, Maybe I Will by Julie Blume. It's opposite day. So, Both. That's your name now. So, would you like to hear about phone phreaking?
I really would love to hear about phone phreaking. I have no guess.
So, it's basically a really complicated way of reverse engineering phone systems using tones like whistles and clicks or mechanical noises to route long distance calls or to manipulate phone systems.
You know, I have something embarrassing to tell you that happened to me today with that.
Okay.
I had no idea until today, and maybe it's not always true, but when you have a phone and you have enter your credit card number, that the system is actually listening for the tone that each button makes.
Yeah.
I did not know that until today, which is so embarrassing. I have no idea how I thought it worked. But I was trying to enter my credit card number on speaker, and it took me 40 tries. And then the lady came on the line and was like, you can't have it on speaker because it can't hear you.
Oh, my God. Oh, you thought maybe just the button was transmitting
I have no idea what I thought because that's so dumb because it's analog. It's
right.
Not, I should not have. That's so embarrassing.
No, it's not because this day and age, it's crazy that phones still work that way.
It is.
That's why phone phreaking, still exists to a certain extent.
Crazy.
You can really take advantage of those systems. especially the older like switchboards or older systems that are in some developing countries or up in like rural, I don't know, Siberia.
Or at the children's hospital here. It seems pretty old fashioned. That was what I was on with today.
Oh God. So the phone freaks, this is what they call themselves. They would recreate these tones either by their mouth. So a lot of them would whistle.
That is insane.
But really high pitched. I can't even whistle that high. Some of them had pre-recorded cassette tapes with all the tones recorded on them. They'd be like number 1, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. Or they had what they call blue boxes, which are these manufactured boxes specifically made to emulate these tones and clicks and whatever kind of noises they needed to make. And all you would have to do is literally hold this box or your whistle or whatever to the handset, and it would generate a series of pre-programmed beeps to get whatever you wanted to get out of this phone call.
So what kind of stuff were they trying to get?
So most people were trying to get long-distance calls for free. Or some people just wanted to call a random phone booth in the middle of London or chat with someone in Alaska. A lot of the phone freaks figured out how to engineer these open party lines. So they would send out basically like a message to all of their freaks all over the country saying, call in to like 1-800 blah, blah, blah. They would take advantage of this empty phone line that they've hacked or that they've freaked. And then they would all chat for hours for free about other ways to freak.
Oh, wow. And right, there's no internet.
Yeah. Oh, this is the only way they could. Yeah. Aside from maybe, you know, writing a letter, which, you know, if you're a phone freaker, you're not going to fucking write a letter. You're going to freak your phone.
They need a theme song.
Oh, they do. Freak your phone on. Get your freak on. Oh, no, that's terrible. No. Here's the thing, though. These phone freakers, they were all very smart people. So not only did they figure out how to, you know, hack the system by making these tones, they also did a lot of research. They would tour phone companies just as an interested, you know, hobbyist, and they would pay attention to their surroundings and learn all the machinery. They would befriend employees. They would kind of do some sneaky social engineering.
Like take operator ladies out on dates.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yes. There was this whole story about how Ma Bell, AT&T, right?
I think so, yeah.
Released a manual on what frequencies each tone had designated, and they would be in these obscure libraries like MIT. And some smarties found these manuals, copied them, distributed them all over to their fellow freakers, and it just spread like wildfire. So the reason this is relevant to Tony's era is because in 1971, Esquire magazine published an article about phone freaking with interviews with some very famous freakers, because they had like celebrities in their ranks. So the top freakers were interviewed. I think the word freaking just started to become part of everyday language at that point. It wasn't an underground movement anymore. And we can't have a conversation about phone freaking without talking about joy bubbles.
Whoa.
This is where it gets interesting. What is a joy bubble? Joy bubble is the pseudonym for a guy called Joe and Gracia. He is known as the father of phone freaking. So back when he went by Joe rather than Joy Bubbles, back in the 50s, he was a super smart kid who happened to be born blind. So he was really isolated. He also had I just think he was very lonely and sad. So what he would do to console himself is go up to his room at night, lay on the floor, pick up the phone in his room, and just listen to the dial tone for hours. It was very soothing. Your face, I know. It's kind of sad, but I mean, I think about how soothing that dial tone is, and I can just imagine, I don't know. True. I can imagine, being lulled to sleep by that. So, like I said, he was very smart, and he also had perfect pitch. So once he got sick of this dial tone, he would start to just dial random numbers just to hear the operator's voice or hear maybe the pre-recorded time. And sometimes when he dialed these long-distance toll-free numbers, he would hear a very high-pitched whistle in the background. So he just whistled it back to the phone. And then he realized he heard a click and then silence. So he figured out how to shut down these long distance trunk lines just with his whistle. So then, being the smarty he is, he learned how to take it a step further and then whistle the numbers to take advantage of that free open phone line to reach like Helsinki or Tokyo or anywhere he wanted. And then when he was in college, this was kind of his party trick. So he was really impressive, and he sold free free long distance calls to like his fellow
I bet he
students
made bank.
for $1 a piece.
Oh, that's cheap.
Yeah, but then a sneaky operator overheard his conversation on the phone once when he was telling a fellow phreaker about these free calls that he would make. And then he got in trouble. He got shut down. He got investigated by the FBI. He got kicked out of college. But this worked in his favor because he gained some headlines from this. So other phreakers around the country who were all kind of isolated in their own small groups began to hear about this guy in Florida. And they're like, whoa, other people are doing this too. And they all started to get in touch.
Worked against the police then. Kind of.
Yeah, it kind of did. Yeah. I mean, like the notoriety really kind of brought him up in the ranks. And so he kind of brought all these freaks together and they just, shared tips and tricks and got really powerful really fast.
So where does Joy Bubbles come in? Was that just his...
Okay, so here's the thing. Eventually, Joe decided to quit doing illegal things. I think he'd had enough of that. He wanted to make a normal life for himself. So he ended up getting a job at a phone company, which was his dream. But then I don't think he was fulfilled enough. So he decided to turn his life around by legally changing his name to Joy Bubbles and declaring himself a perpetual 5-year-old.
Wow.
Because he had had such a troubled childhood, this was his own very unique way of, I guess, reclaiming it.
Drugs may have been involved?
Probably. I heard some interviews with him and he seemed like a really sweet, genuine guy. I don't think there was anything like gross or pervy going on here. He lived a very different, unique life with a sad childhood. And, he said Mr. Rogers would make him really happy.
Aww.
So he decided to start his own story broadcast. He would tell stories and it was called...
He kind of sounds like some kind of hippie king.
I don't even think he was that cool, though.
Okay.
Like, I think hippies were too cool for him.
He's just a big dork.
Yeah.
Oh, I love big dorks, though.
No, he sounded like a good guy. He started this radio show for kids called Stories and Stuff, geared towards children and what he called childults, which are like child adults. And then, of course, he'd record them on a phone line, and then you would call in that phone line to listen to his stories. Right. Yeah. And then he passed away in the mid-2000s. So I just wanted to tell everyone about the Esquire magazine article that they can find online. It's so long, but it's so interesting. So this is from October 1971. It's called Secrets of the Little Blue Box. You can learn all you need to know about Joy Bubbles, phone phreaking, and also another a celebrity freak called Captain Crunch.
Whoa.
And just a quick story. The reason his name is Captain Crunch is awesome. It's because he discovered that Captain Crunch, the cereal, was giving out these toy whistles in their boxes, which just so happened to whistle the exact frequency that you would need to unlock these phone lines. So he, discovered that. So he's Captain Crunch. And then Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak also really caught on to the phone phreaking movement. And this kind of started their interest in computers and technology.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also joybubblesthemovie.com. I don't know if it's out yet, but there's a trailer. And then there's a Radiolab episode. This is how I first heard about.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, it came out in 2012, I think, but they've done reruns since, and it's called Long Distance. So check it out. So I have talked for probably 18 minutes about phone phreaking.
It was fascinating. Really fascinating, I thought.
Do you have any questions? I'm taking questions now. Questions, anyone?
Get your freak on. 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 Get your freak on.
Should we dive into this book?
Yeah, let's do roll call.
1, 2, 3.
Roll call.
Oh, wait.
I don't know how it goes. I can't. Yeah.
I do like a more like roll call, but I liked your roll call.
Yours is more authentic to
the Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah.
We can do it however we want.
All right, let's maybe try one more time just in case.
Okay.
You wanna, all right.
1, 2, 3. Roll call.
No.
I don't know what that was. Okay. So because Allison's not here, Beth is taking over roll call. So take it away, Beth.
All right. Well, we have Grandma.
Oh, still in her room.
Oh, poor Grandma. She is the saddest character of this whole thing. Breaks my heart.
Yeah.
We have Father Pissarro II.
Mm-hmm.
We have Ralph.
Wait, who's Ralph? Oh, oh my God. He's the brother.
Brother
Okay,
Ralph.
sorry.
Brother Ralph. We have Ted Gibbons, Mr. Mustache. Do we talk about what each character is to remind people?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start again then. Okay.
You're fine.
Okay. We have Corky, the not so hot cheerleader.
Oh, Corky.
She loves Tony.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we've got Lisa, hot neighbor girl. Marty Endo, some assorted basketball guys who are named, but I did not write down their names.
It's okay.
Baby Vicky does make an appearance.
Baby Vicky.
Yeah, she cries, of course.
She's that crying ass baby.
I know,
crying
she's
her
always
ass off.
crying. I hope Alison doesn't think that that's what babies do all the time, because they don't necessarily.
That's what I think they do. It's not true.
Finn was not a crier, but we got Frankie Bellino. That is the old friend from the neighborhood. You'll meet him in a little bit.
I love him.
I do too. He's such a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
We got Mrs. Gorski. She's not actually in it, but we refer
She
back
does
to
get
her.
a mention.
Yeah. We have, of course, Ma and Pa Miglione.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Josh, asshole neighbor, and J.W. Fullerbach.
Wait, Josh.
Wait, what's his name?
Joel.
Why did I write Josh?
I don't know.
I think I had a boyfriend named Josh when I was like 13.
There were always so many Joshes
Yes.
of our generation.
Yes.
There were like Josh like A, Josh Q, Josh R, and Josh M in every class.
Yep, exactly. The 80s.
I like how you're crossing out
Yep.
Josh. Nice.
Got to keep track.
Uh-huh.
All right, so that's all the characters I think that were there.
I don't remember any others, but you know what? Fuck it. If you forgot any, who cares?
Yeah. All right, so do we just get started or what's...
Yeah.
All right, so this chapter opens with Joel talking about his parents. They have joined the church club and have gone out a few times with some of their neighbors, but none of the neighbors are as cool as the Hoobers. The Hoobers are like their holy grail, apparently. The mother is obsessed.
Uh-huh.
And he talks again a little bit more about church with Father Pissarro visiting poor grandma who's just languishing in her room.
Yeah.
Ugh.
He visits her once a week, right? And she
Yep.
does her confession.
Yep. I feel like she should tell them what horrible family she has.
Like, they're keeping me captive. Save
Yeah,
me.
it's so sad.
I'm sure they have more talks than just her confessing. Like, what could she
yeah.
even confess to? She's not even doing anything but watching her color TV.
I don't know. I was looking up some of the shows that came out in the 70s, and there was a little bit more racy.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
She was like, Father Pissarro II, I caught a glimpse of Three's Company, and I just feel so dirty.
He thinks, Tony, our friend Tony, thinks about confessing to Father Pissarro II about his pervy actions of watching poor Lisa every night.
Oh my God.
I can't believe it. How does he not think that's so creepy?
He justifies it to himself. He says that he decides it's not a sin because it's not hurting anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, how many peeping toms out there do you think say that to themselves?
Probably a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Ugh. Makes me want to pull down the shades.
I know. God. Carolyn across the street. I'm just
Yeah, she's such a perv.
Yeah.
She's got her binoculars.
oh my God. She watches me sit at my desk all day working on my computer.
My husband wants to get a telescope to look at the stars, but I feel like Finn will use it to be a pervert when he's older.
Do not have any kind of long distance viewing apparatuses in your home until he's at least 21.
Yeah, because you can see a lot of houses from our deck.
Oh my
lot.
God, yes. Having a boy, having a son, you have to worry about things that I would never have thought of, I'm
Let
sure.
me tell you, this book has been making me glad he's only 3.
Uh-huh.
But yeah,
It's coming.
it's coming. And let me tell you, 3-year-olds know they have a penis.
Yeah.
And they play with it.
Oh, yeah.
Boners are not a thing for only teenagers.
Wow.
TMI, but
It
boys
happens.
have that.
It's a thing. Oh, man.
We're working on the only in your bedroom.
That's good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a
Don't
time and a
wanna shame
place.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we have Tony thinking, okay, that's not a sin, doing his peeping. And he thinks about telling someone, and he goes through everyone he knows and decides maybe he'll tell Ted. He wants to get some feedback from Ted, his loving basketball coach. Really looks up to this guy with his mustache coming in full. Do we know how old Ted is?
He's in college. I think he's like a freshman or a
Oh.
sophomore.
Okay, so let's all remember that
Yes.
a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
He's thinking about doing that, and he is looking forward to this big game coming up. Ted has been coaching them, and they've been doing really well, their basketball team. He's really looking forward to the big game. He's getting used to Corky. I think he's
yeah.
coming around. All
Yeah.
the dreams have been, I don't know.
I like what he says. He's like, what does he say? She's still something like she's still not as hot as Lisa, but she sure can yell loud. Like,
yeah, that's a feature.
That is a feature.
All right. So he's looking forward to the big game, and they start out their game, and they really describe it in a lot of detail. You know, tend to skim over this because it's
it was a very basketball-y, lingo-y few pages.
Yeah. But the big event is there's two big events. One is that Marty Endo trips and gets what to me seems really obviously a bad concussion. But apparently Ted is the only one who knows it might be a concussion. He's knocked unconscious.
Yeah.
And no one seems that concerned. If you're knocked unconscious, that's pretty bad.
I think he definitely had a concussion. And there was mention of like, he might have a concussion.
Right, but Ted's the only one that knew that. The parents were like, oh, thanks, Ted. We'll take him to the hospital.
Yeah.
Maybe Ted's pre-med.
Could be. Pre-med Ted.
All right. So the exciting part about that incident is that lets our Tony come in and save the day and win the game, at least in his mind.
Yeah.
The team was down. Tony comes in. He gets to make a penalty shot and makes it. And then he passes the ball to his teammate who makes the winning shot. But if Tony hadn't passed it, who knows what would have happened, right?
Right. That's what he says.
Yeah.
I was very proud of him because there was that split second where he was like, I could have tried for the shot, but he knew he was too far away or whatever.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to make it. So he did the right thing and he passed it to the teammate. I'm like, that is a good decision. You are a very sensible boy, Tony.
He is. Besides the perv thing, he's a good boy. He's so excited to win, and then he sees this blonde girl run onto the field. It's Ted's girlfriend. And then he realizes it's Lisa.
Oh my God, that blew my mind.
I know.
Because Ted had been talking about this girl for a while, this girl he really likes. And Tony didn't think anything of it. And now it turns out to be Lisa.
Yep. And they are making out in front of everybody with Ted's dumb mustache. His mustache is no longer cool. The girl was Lisa, my Lisa, standing there kissing Ted right in public for everyone to see. Ted and his mustache. I underlined that part. Ted and his mustache. It wasn't fair. She should have been kissing me. I'm the one who won the game. Well, I didn't I? Who knows what would have happened if Marty hadn't tripped over his shoelace and knocked himself out? Who knows?
Who knows?
Nobody. Nobody knows.
And we'll never know. Oh, I feel so bad for him now.
I do too. Oh,
he deserves the blonde girl running down for the bleachers, throwing her arms around him, and instead she goes to Ted. And just like you said, let's remember, he's in college. She's 16.
16. She just turned 16. Makes me think of all those 50 songs about waiting till the girl's 16.
Dude, those songs, we just listen to them our whole lives. You don't really think about what they mean until that one day. And you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
This is borderline.
Yeah. And the 70s is the era of all that statutory rape rockers.
Yeah.
Bowie. All those guys.
I guess we didn't really start to think of kids as kids until the 80s.
Right. That's true. That's true. You are a kid and you learn how to be a grown up, and that's which is maybe why you can have a little bit extra empathy for poor Tony. So after all that, he does not feel like going out to ice cream with Corky.
She's so disappointed.
She is. Oh, Tony. I was trying to imagine what tone she said that in. She says, oh, Tony.
She could have been like, oh, Tony, or oh, Tony.
Yeah, it's a kind of a weird thing to say. It seems kind of motherly or something.
Right, yeah, it does.
Like a little chastised, like, oh, Tony.
That was a very mothery voice.
My son had a rough day. I've been practicing.
Oh, Finn. Oh, Tony.
You said that like a Minnesotan here. Oh, Tony.
I know he's Italian, but
I kind of have been reading them in like old Italian gangster voices in my head. Miglione. All right. So he goes home and he just goes right to sleep. No pervy spying, probably because he knows that Lisa is out with Ted. There's nothing to even see and he doesn't want to see it. And then he still dreams about Lisa again. He really did not want to, but his poor brain can't help it. But it was her and Ted and all the things they probably do when they're alone.
Oh my God.
Which is really a disturbing dream. It's
Lisa, Ted, and the mustache. It's a threesome.
Oh, yeah.
I can just see that in a dreamlike state, like the mustache. It's its own like it's a life-size mustache with googly eyes and hands and feet.
And it's a really thick Burt Reynolds one.
Oh, like a big caterpillar.
Yeah. Multi-layered, kind of puffy.
Oh no.
So then we suddenly jump. I don't know what time of year this was, but suddenly it's February. He gets a call from his old friend Frankie. He's the one who took over the paper route. He can't believe it's Frankie. They're so excited to talk to each other. And Frankie says, why didn't you come visit me? And he says, why don't you come visit me? So Frankie says, all right, Tony, I'll come visit you. And it's easy as that.
Like boom, boom,
Yeah.
done.
Tony goes and asks his parents, and his mom, of course, is kind of a downer. Why don't you make friends in the neighborhood? I cannot stand her.
Can't stand her either.
But luckily, Dad, who is so chill and supportive, says, it's good for him. Old friends are the best friends, or whatever he says. And so it's all arranged. They're going to go and pick him up from the tube. And
Wait, we got to pause here.
all right.
Because I first read it as the tube, as in like the London tube. But then I read it the second time, and it's the tubes.
What are the tubes?
I don't know.
I thought that was what they called the subway in New York.
No, I think it's the tubes. Wait, and I meant to look this up, but I didn't. Hold on.
All right. Because I wondered the same thing, and I thought it was just some New York thing I was missing.
Don't think they call it the tube like they do in London. The tubes. Pneumatic. No, this is not. Pneumatic tube mail in New York City? No, I don't think that's it.
Of course, that's where all the kids meet, the pneumatic tubes. It's the big hangout.
Meet you at the Pneumats. The tubes has a better ring to it. I think we're going to have to look that one up a little further, and we'll report back to you. But if anyone from New York knows what the tubes are, please let us know. We'd love to hear it from a native New Yorker.
Because Tony goes into the city with his dad, and there's Frankie waiting at the tubes.
Mm-hmm.
They're happy to see each other, and they head back to the house. Now, Tony is embarrassed of this big, shiny house. He just thinks it's way more than, we remember him being so embarrassed. But, of course, Frankie is super, super impressed and cannot stop talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Can I point out that he's carrying an airline bag?
Oh, yes. What is that?
I don't know.
Is it like a stewardess's flight bag or something?
I'm picturing like a Pan Am vinyl.
Me too. That's exactly what I pictured. It was red and blue in my mind.
I mean, that's what it is.
Maybe it was like the cool thing at the time for the kids to have.
Could be.
So there he is with his airline bag hanging out. He's so impressed at the house. He just keeps going on.
He's just going, wow, you guys have really come a long way.
Oh, and then he asks about Grandma, and poor Tony is too embarrassed to say anything about what's actually going on with Grandma. He's just ashamed, which is so sad. Like, that feeling when you're 13 is so huge.
Carmela should be ashamed.
Yes, or Carol, as we...
Oh, Carol. Carol.
Yeah, Carmela and her new attitude. I wonder if she was always like this, or...
Probably deep down, but she didn't have room to act like this until the money came.
Maxine gives him the special look, which he thinks he's convinced she's giving him a special look, which I really doubt, because even if she knows about it, she's like an adult woman who's their maid. She does not care about his nocturnal emissions.
She's got other things to worry about. That special look. Yeah, he's so like he can't look her in the eye still. He says he ducks his head every time like they're in the same room together. It's like, oh, Tony, she doesn't give a shit about your wet dreams.
Yeah, so then Joel calls to invite him over. And the parents say, well, we were going to go see a movie, but what's the movie about? Love.
They're like, no thanks.
Yeah. Now, is The Last Stranger an actual movie?
I've never heard
I've
of it.
never heard of it either. I was wondering that, but I did not look it up.
Same. Sometimes you just got to skip
not
these things
enough
over.
To care.
Yeah.
They head over to they head over to Joel's house, and I was actually kind of surprised that he wanted to go do that, because he's not that into Joel, but I guess he wanted something to do.
Yeah, I guess, and maybe he figured Frankie would be a buffer.
They head over, and they are again, Joel is super impressed with this house, even more so. They've got spotlights.
Yeah.
Got this fancy pool. They go up and look at the bed.
It's really lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Yeah. This bed, I have a picture of it in my mind because my friend was showing me this guy that she saw on Tinder. One of his photos First of all, he liked to give salt and oil massages. That was his big thing.
Is he gonna fry some?
I don't know, exfoliation before, I guess.
I just think of cooking.
But he had a round bed with a leopard print sheet on it.
Wait, this was in his
This
Tinder
was in
profile?
his Tinder profile.
Like in his picture?
Yes, in his pictures. It was a picture of him and then a picture of his round bed. Wow. So I was wondering what era he thought he was in.
And was your friend like, yes, oh yes?
I think she accidentally super liked him, which is a new Tinder button. It's
Super like?
Yeah, so there's reject, accept, and then super like is now in the middle. So if you are not paying attention, you can accidentally click super like when you're trying to reject.
Oh, that's so sneaky.
It is really, So I'm wondering what the kind of rate is right now with people accidentally super liking someone disgusting because they go so fast to try to click no.
It just occurred to me that I have no idea how
the
ratings
either.
work. Do they have super dislike?
No, this is just super like. I only know about Tinder because my friend was showing me and letting me scroll through some of her
I
man
always
choices.
wanted to be like the proxy Tinder.
It's pretty fun. It kind of made me want to create an account for my husband just to, see what's out there and kind of.
We could create a Blume Saloon Tinder account.
You could put photos of Judy Blume.
No, I would never do that to her.
No.
We could put photos of Ted's mustache.
Ooh, Ted's mustache. I'll get a round bed in there, maybe a swimming pool.
God. Just a little mustache lounging on a big round bed.
Not a little mustache, a big fluffy mustache.
I'm getting the shivers right now. Yuck.
I thought it was kind of weird, but I guess it's Joel to give a tour of your parents' bedroom on a house tour.
Yeah, I mean,
my parents would not have been into us going in there. To give a tour to a stranger, but
no, it's Joel. He has no boundaries.
It's Joel. No, he was hoping to. Tony was hoping to see Lisa, but she wasn't there. And he's noticed lots of different cars. So she's not just dating Ted; she's dating lots of different guys.
Yeah, and it seems like Ted only has eyes for her.
Yeah, he's pretty into her, which made me feel a little bad for Ted.
Yeah.
I was kind of glad because I didn't see any judgment from Tony. There's no slut shaming. I think she's still.
Good for you, Tony. No slut shaming.
Yeah, he's a good guy except for the perv. Got the perv. We're going to stop here and have a little break, and then Jody's going to take over, and we're going to have a special treat.
Yay! And we're back to finish off chapter 7. And we have a special beverage courtesy of Beth. Beth, would you like to tell us what it is and why you brought it?
I saw that this summer they re-released Zima, which was one of the first alcohols I ever got a little drunk on. Wow. Because when it came out back in 1990, I think.
Oh, was it that late?
Oh, yeah, because I was 13. So
okay.
We convinced my dad that it was a non-alcoholic beverage. So we're like, Dad, pick us up a 6-pack of Zima.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he just thought it was like Crystal Pepsi or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You had such balls. What the hell? Because you know that you could have played, if he had caught you and been like, it has alcohol, you'd be like, I was just kidding, haha, just to see if you did it. Such a good sneaky sneak.
Yeah, so he totally believed us, and we had 2 Zimas each, which is not really that much, but it was enough.
It's a lot for a 13-year-old.
Yeah. It came out this summer, and I went to Safeway to try to get some Zima, but they didn't have any, and so I bought Smirnoff Ice, which the internet told me is the same pretty much as Zima, which is a disgusting citrus-flavored malt beverage.
If memory serves, they're pretty identical. And it's so funny when you unveiled this earlier this evening. I was just thinking of Smirnoff Ice because I saw this crazy online ad. And I remember paying attention to it because I was like, oh, I haven't seen this being advertised in a long time. And the whole campaign was something along the lines of, if you're at a party and if you're inviting friends of friends and you don't know what they want to drink, bring Smirnoff Ice because you just don't know what people might want. I'm like, who thought of that?
Because they know that it's terrible.
Right. It's the most awkward, long-winded way of telling people to buy your beverage.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let us crack this open.
And I've never had this before, so I don't know if the mic picked that up, but it was just satisfying.
Dramatic unbottling. Oh yeah, look at that fizzy, Ugh. semi-opaque.
It looks a little bit like dirty dishwater.
It does.
Yeah.
With some like
And have a little sniff. Oh, it does not smell very good. Artificial citrus. It kind of smells like toilet cake.
Smells like dish soap or toilet cake. Yes.
Urinal cake. I'm sure Tony and his friends could relate.
Or do you remember that strawberry shortcake doll lemon meringue pie?
Oh, yes.
That fake lemony.
Yeah, that was not my favorite.
No. All right, here we go.
Oh,
It's not
that bad. It doesn't have that much taste.
I think we were expecting it to be horrible, but I'm glad that we can agree it's pretty mild.
Yeah, it has a lot more smell than taste.
Like a weird...
It's trying to kill me.
Well, in case you're wondering why we're doing all this, it's because Tony, Frankie, and Joel are about to get wasted.
Wasted. Like way more wasted than I got off those two Zimas.
This, for me, is probably the best part of the book so far.
I agree.
So to recap, it's the three dudes, the three amigos. It's Frankie, Tony, and Joel over at Joel's house. The dudes start the night off with looking at some of Joel's paperbacks.
You remember those?
How can you forget? And they all note these are way better than Big
Joe.
Big Joe's, yeah. And then suddenly Joel asks, "You guys want some beer?" And they're all like, What? Are you kidding? But Joel's playing it so cool. He's like, "You've never had beer before?" And they haven't. So they all go down to the rec room. It's a very fancy rec room with bar stools and everything.
Now I had a friend when we were in high school who, he didn't remind me of Joel because he was a very sweet guy, but his parents were very rich and had what I imagine this rec room to look like. They had like one of those fuzzy sheep rugs and like zebra print leather bar stools and so much booze that they never would notice when we would drink it. And they also had a pool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did they live in Rosemont?
No, they did not live in Rosemont.
Basement rec rooms were very 1970s.
Oh, for sure. In the 90s when this happened, that felt super dated.
They always did.
And cheesy.
Yep. And a lot of my friends from New Jersey have those. I think that like northeast part of the U.S., always a lot of wood paneling, shag carpets.
Yeah.
And then eventually by the time the 90s roll around, the parents have abandoned like that dream and it just becomes like the teenage kids kind of fuck everything, do whatever you want down here room. So yeah, they're going to get some beer. They raid Joel's dad's liquor cabinet and share one can of beer. And they all think it's disgusting. And then they drink another beer. Because why not? And then they move on to the liquor stash.
This seemed pretty extreme to me to all of a sudden be like 1 beer, 2 beer, booze.
Yeah, and the booze are hardcore booze. I'll read you a little bit about what they've been drinking. We started with the scotch, which burned my throat. Then the vodka, which Joel said has no taste at all and should be gulped because it would make us feel good really fast. I mean, legit.
Yeah.
Then the rye, which burned my throat some more. After that, Joel passed around the brandy because he said that was for after dinner.
He's a classy guy.
Oh my God. Can you just imagine him, this like little 13-year-old boy, and being like, "And now I present you with some brandy, an after dinner aperitif." No, that's before. What's after?
Digestive?
Digestive.
He totally thinks he is so cool.
And then we have a really great passage where
so good.
Frankie falls off a bar stool and they all start cracking up. Tony says, "Wow, I've never heard such a crazy laugh. I mean, he just stretched out on the floor and laughed like a nut." And then, Beth, would you like to read this with me?
All right. "Who's your friend?" Joel asked me.
Or you can just say, "Who's your friend?"
Okay. Right. Because otherwise I'm not being Joel. All right. Let me get into character. Here we go. All right. "Who's your friend?"
"I don't know. I never saw him."
"Me neither. Must be some drunk."
"Yeah, must be. Hey, mister, you some drunk or what?" So first, let's clarify that they're all wasted and they're talking like dirty vaudeville, like hobo men.
Like they're all suddenly Southern, I guess.
Oh, well, that was me. But the way that it's written...
No, that's what I imagine too. Like I imagine them being like, I don't know, like some... Yeah, New Orleans or
right.
like, yeah.
With a top hat, like with the top of it punched out and like a little flower stuck in it.
And a stick with a little tied up bandana on the end with more rye for later.
Oh my God, exactly. And a little like white dog with his eye, like one eye, like blacked out with charcoal.
Yes.
Hey, Joel, the room's going round. Come here and see.
Yeah, sure is. All around and round and round like a merry-go-round.
I told you. Didn't I tell you? Whole room's going round.
Yeah, you told me. Know what?
What?
I don't feel so good.
Me neither.
Let's go outside, get some air.
So they're cracking up. And let's see. Joel has to lift Frankie up and drag him over to the back door, and they go outside with no coats or anything. And then Joel says,
Oh, nice. That's so nice.
real nice, good clean air.
And Frankie says, Know what? It's cold out here.
Yeah, nice cold clean air.
Know what? I think I'm gonna be sick.
No kidding. Me too.
Let's be sick together.
Sure. Let's be sick in the bushes.
Yeah, the bushes is a good place to be sick. It's good for the bushes, like fertilizer.
So they're all three of them puking in the bushes. And then when they're done, they head back to Tony's house. Frankie and Tony head back to Tony's house. And then Frankie says, wait one more minute, Tony. And then Tony says, what now? And then Frankie says, I'm gonna fertilize your bushes too. So the next morning, they're hungover as fuck. They're green. And they get up at noon. Frankie has to head back. He's going back to the tubes, going back, whatever those are, going back to Jersey City. And as he leaves, Carmela says, you both look like you're coming down with something. Then the next weekend, Tony has to put on his best sports jacket and a tie because he's going to lunch with none other than J.W. Fullerbach.
So weird.
Well, if you remember, he is the boss of the company that hired Tony's dad to create these electrical cartridges, and we still don't know what those are. We need to know, though. So, yeah, Jay Fullerbach wants to take Tony and his dad, Vic, out to lunch at the country club, but Tony's very annoyed. Who wants to waste a perfectly good Saturday with J.W. Fullerbach when he could be loafing around and having a great time? Carmela, the mom, is freaking out. She's so excited. She's checking Tony's ears and fingernails and making sure he remembers to shake hands.
Just like Joel.
Yeah. And then when they get to the country club, J.W. Fullerbach is not as impressive as Tony had imagined. He is short, pudgy, balding, and he has a twitch in his right eye. Sounds like a very,
yeah.
I don't know.
I thought it was really sweet, though, that Tony thought his dad looked more like the J.W. Fullerbach he imagined.
Yes.
He, does look up to his dad.
Yeah, he does. And I think he's also very, pragmatic when it comes to putting people on pedestals. He knows this guy isn't such a big shot.
Yeah.
So they're at this French restaurant, and Tony's worried that he won't know what to order because everything's in French, but don't worry, JW's got you covered. He orders a round of medium rare steaks for the table without asking what they wanted. And then vanilla ice cream for dessert, again without asking. He's the type of man that thinks he's being so kind and benevolent, but he's really just imposing whatever he wants on everyone else around him.
Clueless.
Yeah. Well, I think that being short, pudgy, and balding with a twitch in your eye, you got to assert your power somehow.
Yeah. And he's super, super rich, obviously.
Mm-hmm. So during dessert, JW tells Tony he hopes someday he'll join the company too, ... just like his brother Ralph. What the fuck? Ralph, I thought, what's he talking about? What does he mean about Ralph joining the company? That's crazy. I couldn't wait for lunch to be over. I wanted to be alone with my father. I wouldn't dare come right out and ask about Ralph in front of Mr. Fullerbach. But after lunch, they smoked a whole cigar and had 2 brandies. I couldn't even look at the brandy. Just the smell was enough to remind me of last week at Joel's party. I excused myself and went to the men's room. So he is still hungover. But more importantly, he's very angry about this revelation.
Aww.
Because Ralph was his hero. Ralph was a teacher. He was the wizard. And now he's just fucking basically a sellout.
Yeah, at the beginning of this chapter, he again said, I don't really want to talk to Ralph about my wet dreams because he's an old man.
So Tony's really pissed. He's been avoiding Ralph for a month. And then Tony finds out that Ralph, Fat Legs Angie, and Baby Vicky are looking for a house in Rosemont because they need more space. But Ralph tries to talk to Tony about his plans, but Tony's acting very distant. And what he really wants to say to Ralph is, hey, Ralph, you stink. You're a sellout. You've gone soft. Just like Mom, just like Pop, just like Angie. And then Tony pulls a Tony and runs to the bathroom. Oh, Tony. Do you think that's where the band Tony got their name from? Anywho, so Tony, he's got awful stomach pains. He's got his nervous stomach. Oh yeah, he's in the bathroom. I'm assuming pooping and plotting.
Or just in pain. We don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe he's not pooping. He's definitely plotting though, because he, for a second, thinks that maybe he can run away to Rosemont. Or run away from Rosemont and live in Jersey City in his old town, get his paper route back, have a great life, but then he decides that's crazy. And then we end the chapter with this. When I calmed down enough to unlock the bathroom door, I went to the hall. Why can't I read right now?
It's the Smirnoff Ice.
When I calmed down enough to unlock the bathroom door, I went down the hall to Grandma's room. I haven't been there for at least 2 weeks. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget she even lives with us. I stood there for a while, thinking that me and Grandma have a lot in common. We're both outsiders in our own home. I knocked on the door and called, Grandma. When Grandma opened it and saw me, she turned off her TV. Then she sat down in her chair and held her hands out to me. I went to her. I started to cry. I kneeled down and buried my head in her lap. She stroked my hair. For a minute, I felt like a little kid again. Grandma used to hold me that way when I fell down or when I was scared. Oh,
so heartbreaking.
it really is. And just, to hear that he hadn't been up there for 2 weeks and he forgets that she even lives with them. This is worse than I thought.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But hopefully this encounter with Grandma will maybe open up the doors for more visits, more communication between them.
Maybe he can talk to Grandma about some of his fears, even if she can't talk back.
Oh, yeah. What a better person to talk to about your wet dreams than someone who can't talk back or laugh at you.
I have some information about the nervous stomach.
Because I've been wondering so much about this.
Yeah. A couple of things. One thing is, I know you and Alison were thinking that maybe you weren't sure what the medicine that he got from his doctor is for.
Right. It could either be like anti-diarrhea or Xanax or something like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's Valium.
Ooh.
Well,
tell us all about what you found out.
I had a feeling this was kind of the height of the Valium era. Mm-hmm. And I did a little research, and it turns out that it is. Oh. I found an ad that was in a medical journal aimed at psychiatrists trying to convince people to prescribe more Valium. Oh. All the information I found said that starting in about 1965 through the early 70s, Valium was heavily prescribed. It was the first big $1 billion drug.
Really?
Yeah, it was the kind of switch in time when psychiatric problems were looked at as medical problems as opposed to just being crazy.
Right.
Like
and they were curable.
Exactly.
Oh.
And it was one of the first big brand name drugs. They had a whole series of different ads in not just medical journals, but they were in Newsweek, Time. There was articles about them in Cosmopolitan, Ladies' Home Journal. And all of these encouraged you to go and talk to your doctor and ask for this drug.
Right.
And that was also the start of people going to their doctors to ask for a drug rather than.
Right. Because now we just take that for granted. You see all those drug ads on TV. And at the very end, after all the fast talk, it's like, ask your doctor about blah, blah, blah. And to think that it wasn't always that way is crazy.
Not even that long ago.
Yeah.
Then the fact that Mrs. Huber is the one who recommended this doctor made me think that, she would have a doctor who was up to date with all of these new treatments. And since this was kind of the hot new treatment, that probably for all we know, Mrs. Huber is taking this to zone out on the golf course all day. So all of those things led me to believe that is what he was taking. And this ad I found is I think it's pretty hilarious. So there is this little graphic of a little man.
I have to come see this.
There's a little man, and he is surrounded by a photo of his wife, his mother-in-law, and his daughter. All the men in his life are off on the edge in little tiny circles, and these wife are kind of big, domineering circles, which kind of made me think of Tony and his current life.
Oh my God.
Yeah, maybe.
So
yeah.
weird.
And so the little text with it says, he doesn't understand the source of his psychic tension, talking about this man, but you do, talking about the doctor. He relates well to women with domineering traits, but not to men, not even his own son. Whenever psychic tension is significant in the clinical profile, consider Valium. Yeah, so they say that it helps with psychoneuroses. It says that it's a neurosis based on emotional conflict in which an impulse has been blocked and seeks expression in different system, which is what Tony is experiencing, really.
Oh.
He's having all these emotions and it's coming out in his stomach.
Because his impulse is being blocked. Like he can't verbalize it or he can't act on. Wow.
So that made me think the doctor would definitely be looking to prescribe this.
Yeah.
And when you look at the little prescription information from the drug company, it has this horrifying to me, that it's not for use in children under 6 months. So Vicky can't take it, but anyone else can.
Whoa.
Yeah, the children's dosage.
Like you could give your 2-year-old some Valium.
Yep. They did not think at the time it was addictive at all. They thought it was just this totally harmless thing you could just pop and feel better.
I mean, that's the dream, right?
Yeah. So for a while they were living the dream.
I know. Until real science came crashing down. I mean, what are the side effects of Valium?
You can have seizures going through withdrawal. It's super addictive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently there's some studies in the late 70s that too much of it can cause cancer cells to grow. So it's definitely not as harmless as they thought.
I cannot get over
that is a
that.
great ad. We definitely have to post that.
Can I just read this last paragraph?
Please.
For your passive dependent, tension-ridden patient dominated by women, and for countless other psychoneurotics, Valium may prove itself a helpful partner to your psychotherapeutic skills. What is this?
Yeah, it's...
And then, we have to post this because there's Uncle Willie in his own little circle in the bottom right, and he looks like a fucking toad. There's Pop, father-in-law, friend, son, and Uncle Willie.
And they're all just little black figures. They're not the photos that the other people are.
This is insane.
Yeah, 1970. And then the other research I did is about barium.
Oh, I'm so glad.
You guys were not completely crazy. So barium is not radioactive, but they do, and I knew about this because a friend of mine had to have it done recently. They do feed you radiation. And that's to figure out how fast your stomach is emptying. The barium is a metal, and they use barium sulfate, and they can see that contrasted. Because normally if you look at your guts, it's all just a gray blur. Mm-hmm. So it lets them look at what all is going on in there. Mm-hmm. And the descriptions I was reading were way more detailed. I guess they would strap you to a table and tilt you around while they were taking the x-ray to kind of slosh the liquid around inside your body.
Terrifying.
So yeah, it was like a table that you would be strapped to, and they would rotate it. Oh my God. And then they also would do, usually, which probably Tony would have really had to get, is a barium enema.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, to see from the other end what was going on. So poor Tony, this must have been a kind of more humiliating, even if it was just swallowing. I feel like that was kind of a...
Right. It wasn't just like an awkward chat with a doctor about girls. It was this whole procedure. So do they still use barium?
They do, yeah.
It's pretty
still
standard.
a good way to look at your insides and see what's going on.
I remember my uncle telling me about back in the 60s or 70s or maybe the 50s when he was a kid. X-rays were a lot more pervasive in real life than they are now. Like you could go to the fun fair and like have your insides X-rayed for fun, paid 25 cents.
Yeah,
and get
my
an
mom
X-ray.
was telling me in the 50s at shoe stores.
Yes, that's just what I was going to say. He said
Yes.
they would X-ray your feet to make sure the shoe fit properly.
Yeah.
That's hilarious and also very scary. I mean, how many people have like toe cancer right now because of those X-rays?
Yeah, and the X-rays were way stronger back then too.
I still get weird about going to the airport. I've stopped doing this because it takes so much longer. But for a while, I would refuse to go
I opt
through
out.
I
don't like the scanner
do?
thing, the full body scanner. I've read scientists that opt out of it. So I'm like, you know what? Just in case.
Same here. And I read some pilots also because, you know, they have to go through it so
Oh,
frequently.
they're actually withdrawing those from all the large airports.
Are they?
Yeah, they're going to switch to only having them at smaller airports that are less frequently used.
Interesting. Why is that?
I think because of concerns over whether or not they're actually safe. We should research that as well because I don't want to be spreading false information, but I'm pretty
that's what
sure
we're good
that's
at.
true.
That's really interesting. Well, I'm glad because I just found that it took like 5 times longer because they would want to pat you down. They would want to open all your belongings. Not
They'd
convenient.
have to call for a woman and
Right.
take like 10 minutes for them to find a woman to be able to come and do it.
Exactly.
And I also did a little research about what a nervous stomach might actually mean because it doesn't really seem to be a real diagnosis.
Yeah, I've been wondering about this whole book. It seems like a very archaic, kind of old-fashioned, vague.
Yeah, like hysteria, like only cured by orgasm back in the day.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's like, Tony's version of hysteria. Kind of maybe is. I guess the digestive system has its own separate nervous system called the enteric nervous system. And it's sometimes called the second brain because if you sever the connection between the stomach nervous system, the digestive system nervous system, and the brain, your digestive system will still work. It just knows what to do. But since it's all these neurons and stuff, it has sensitive receptors to the same kind of hormones and neurotransmitters and all of that.
Uh-huh.
So the idea is that your body is releasing all this stuff when you're under stress and that the stomach nervous system is affected by that.
So when they say nervous, they don't necessarily mean like I'm anxious. Like
Right.
This is like your nervous system.
Yeah. So that's the idea, at least. They're not, and it's super mysterious. They don't actually know that much about the stomach nervous system. I mean, even now, new articles are coming out all the time about, your, biome in your stomach can make you depressed or.
That's so interesting because I was like, nervous stomach. Yeah, I have like anxious elbow or something. But here we go.
Paranoid big toe.
Yeah. Paranoid big toe. Better have that X-rayed at the shoe store.
I'm not crazy. You're the one that's crazy. You're driving me crazy. You stick me in an institution. Said it was the only solution to give me the professor of protecting from the enemy myself. It doesn't matter. The insurance money's about to run out anyhow.
Thanks, Beth.
Yeah, that was so fun. I'm glad to be here in the Blume Cocoon.
We're so glad to have you. And hopefully we'll bring Alison back for correspondence.
Maybe we can convince her to come out and bring the baby and I can hold it while she... I didn't like newborns before I had one, but now I kind of like them.
You had this really like this glint in your eyes. So let's make that happen.
I'll smell its little head.
Oh my God.
I'm a creeper.
I'm just like, I know, but I mean, so many people who are moms or parents say that. And I'm just like, I would so much rather smell my dog's paws because they smell like Fritos.
I agree that dogs' paws do smell super good.
All right. I think on that note, it's safe to say we're done.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Thank you to Beth for joining us. So happy to have you here. Thank you to Tyler Barber for our theme song. And thank you to those of you who wrote letters that we still have yet to get to. I'm so sorry, but we keep running out of time, but we really want to read them. So I think we're going to do that. We will do that for sure next episode.
And I am so excited to get to read them because I am now on the inside of the Blume Cocoon.
All right.